Namaskar, I am Milind Pan Patil, Director, National Water Academy, Central Water Commission, Ministry of Jal Shakti, Pune. On behalf of National Water Academy, Ministry of Jal Shakti, I welcome to all senior officers from Ministry of Jal Shakti, Central Water Commission, Central Water Engineering Services officers from central government and central government PSUs, state government PSUs, individual consultant, private research, corporate officers from academic institutions, universities, IITs, NITs, IISc, then persons from media professional, NGOs. Friends, good morning and again welcome to all of you. As many of you may be aware that last year National Water Academy Pune successfully completed the interstate river water dispute in India as well as international cooperation in water sector of India with participation of about 5,000 officers across the country. This webinar series was very much appreciated by everyone. Many of participants in their feedback had expressed that this series will be reorganized, and according on that demand, National Water Academy has started again both these series this year also. Thus, every efforts have been made by NWA to start with this series, and I welcome you all. First, briefly, I introduce the objectives as well as introduction of this webinar series. Let me now highlight the objectives of webinars with brief introduction of transboundary rivers in India. As we all know, water, unlike most other natural resources, does not follow political boundaries. The natural flow of water, both on Earth's surface and underground, routinely crosses administrative boundaries. This is why the world's fresh water resources are shared by many countries. There are about 263 transboundary lake and river basins covering almost half of the Earth's surface. 145 countries have territory in these basins and 30 countries lie entirely within them. There are approximately 300 transboundary aquifers helping to serve the 2 billion people who depend on groundwater. Overexploitation of lakes, rivers, aquifers can jeopardize the fragile ecosystem and have dire consequences for the reliability and sustainability of water supplies, which can cause international tensions as well as conflict. India shares its boundaries with Pakistan, China, Nepal, Bhutan. There are many transboundary rivers which flow from India to Pakistan, India to Bangladesh, Nepal to India, and from China to India. Some of the major river systems of the world, Ganges, Indus, Brahmaputra, are in this subcontinent, and all these river systems are transboundary. In case of Indus and part of Ganges, part of Brahmaputra, India is upper riparian and its lower riparian in part of Ganges and part of Brahmaputra. So, international cooperation is vital in Indian context also for development and management of these river basins. With above background, the present webinar series is conceptualized with an objective to develop capacity of professionals in India for understanding international legal aspects pertaining to surface and groundwater international treaties, and to appreciate the importance of cooperation at international level for development and management of transboundary river basins. This webinar will cover the following topics, covering the case studies for in-depth understanding of the topic: history of development of international water law, water allocation in transboundary basin, Helsinki Rule 1966, then Berlin Rule 2004, International Water Convention, international cooperation in water sector of India, role of Department of Water Resources, River Development and Ganga Regeneration, Ministry of Jal Shakti, Government of India, UNICEF, Convention on Protection and Use of Transboundary Watercourses and International Lakes 1992, UN Convention on Law of Non-Navigational Use of International Watercourses 1997, then UN Resolution on Law of Transboundary Aquifer 2008, Overview of Indus Water Treaty between India and Pakistan 1960, Working of Indus Water Treaty between India and Pakistan, Case studies of Bagliar and Kishan Ganga projects, Ganga Water Treaty 1996, existing institutional mechanism for transboundary water cooperation between India and Bangladesh, Kosi and Gandak agreements, Mahakali Treaty 1996, and existing institutional mechanisms for transboundary water cooperation between India and Nepal, transboundary cooperation on water resources between India and Bhutan, transboundary water cooperation on water resources between India and China, then transboundary water cooperation outside South Asian region as a case studies for more understanding of international water cooperation as a Mekong River Commission, India's cooperation in water sector with other countries not in neighborhood, then challenges of international issues in interlinking of river projects in India, a case study of Mekong Basin, the World Bank engagement in water sector, past, present, and future. To speak on this topic, the renowned expert speaker are drawn from the Department of Water Resources, River Development and Ganga Regeneration, Ministry of Jal Shakti, then Central Water Commission as a Central Water Engineering Services officers, legal expert dealing with international water law, research chair for water conflict and governance, governance center for policy research, then NWDA experts from financial institution, that is World Bank. It does every efforts has been made to get an expert speaker with long experience on this subject. About 200 participants have been registered. This webinar series representing the various categories like central government, central PSUs, state government, state PSUs, individual consultant, private research, corporate, NGOs, academic institutions like IITs, NITs, IISc, media professional. There is participation from all states and UTs across the India. Thus, it can seen webinar has representation from all sections of society, which is very important so that the objective of the webinar is made in a larger way to some extent. For getting feedback from the officers, for enhancing the quality of program. The feedback of participants are very vital during course of seminar also. The participant can offer their views, suggestion through WhatsApp group and email. However, at the end of webinar series, a comprehensive feedback from the participant will be taken. Thus, in the end, I would like to emphasize that this webinar series will certainly pave way to build capacities of the participant to come out with the better water management solutions, good water governance to manage the demands, out of the box solution for intensive cooperation between the countries, and use water as an engine for economic development, poverty elevation, and overall sustainable growth and development. All the water professionals should realize that adopting the good cases of cooperation and collaboration at national and international level is the need of hour to bring out untold benefits to the people of the countries concerned and putting an end to discussion of water wars and water conflict. Now, I would like to put on the record my sincere thanks to Secretary DOWR, RD and GR, then Shri K. Vora Sir, Chairman and ex officio Secretary to the Government of India, Chairman Central Water Commission, Shri D. Chaskar Sir, Chief Engineer, National Water Academy and Head, who is guiding force behind starting from the conceptualization to commencing of this webinar. All the expert and eminent speakers who have agreed to be part of this webinar in spite of their busy schedule, to the participant, and last but not least to all the supporting officers who are working behind screen for making the webinar a success. I wish all participants a very happy learning. Be safe everyone and take care. Now I will before hand over the session to our today's speaker, Shri D. Chaskar Sir, Chief Engineer and Head of National Water Academy, I will first briefly introduce to him Shri Chaskar sir, Chief Engineer and Head of National Water Academy, is graduate from Government College of Engineering, Pune, postgraduate from Indian Institute of Technology, Mumbai. He belongs to 1990 batch of Central Water Engineering Services. His professional career spanning about 32 years in Central Water Commission as well as Ministry of Jal Shakti as a Central Water Engineering Service Officer. He has shouldered important responsibilities in design, training and capacity building, technical coordination, hydrological observation, flood forecasting, monitoring of irrigation projects in Maharashtra as well as Gujarat state. During his tenure at National Water Academy, Pune, he immensely contributed in training and capacity building in water sector, infrastructure development, institutional strengthening of National Water Academy. He conducted more than 100 training programs on various subjects, including induction training program for newly recruited officers through UPSC Engineering Services as an assistant director. He was instrumental in initiating and conducting national and international distance learning program in association with WMO, World Meteorological Organization. He is well versed in IT skill, particularly database management, web application development, and has developed application for budget information system, Central Water Engineering Services Officers Biodata Information System, Reservoir Storage Monitoring System across the country. He participated in first distance learning program conducted by the United Nations Institute for Training and Research and University of Geneva on subject of international water law and law of transboundary aquifers. He initiated, designed, conducted training program on the subject of water law, water governance, and transboundary water resources, conflict to cooperation in NWA, which were highly successful. He has published and represented about 13 papers in various national and international forums, including paper on the topic UN Water Convention, Significance for Water Cooperation in South Asian Region during the India Water Week 2017. Now, in this session, Shri Chaskar sir will talk on the topic of international cooperation in water sector of India, role of Department of Water Resources, River Development, Ganga Regeneration, Ministry of Jal Shakti, Government of India, and the brief outline of his presentation will be principles of international water law, need for cooperation with neighboring countries, role of DOWR, RD and GR, then cooperation with other countries in capacity building and training and exchange of technical know-how, role of international finance institutions. Now I hand over the session to our today's speaker, Shri D. Chaskar sir, for enlightening us on this very important topic. Now I request to Chaskar sir, please. Sir.
Thank you, Shri Patel ji. Good morning, everybody, and very warm welcome to the first session of this webinar series. I hope I am audible.
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Okay. As informed by Shri Patel ji, this webinar series is being conducted for the second time. NWA always strive to bring best to the participants in terms of training and capacity building. Here we conduct many face-to-face training programs on various aspects of water resources development and management. However, it doesn't become possible for everybody to come all the way to NWA to participate, and that is why we started conducting distance learning program way back in 2012. And the intensity of these programs was quite high during the COVID period. During the COVID period, we started webinar series on two topics. One was the interstate water disputes and the other was international cooperation in water sector. And we invited eminent faculty to deliver these sessions. And these webinar series were immensely popular, immensely helpful to the participants. And we received many requests that it should be done again. And that is why we started the other webinar series, that is interstate water disputes. It started on 17th of August And now this webinar series, we are starting from today. As told by Shri Patilji, we are covering a whole gamut of topics pertaining to international cooperation in water sector, which includes various treaties that India has signed with the neighboring countries, various aspects of international water law, involvement of financial institutions like World Bank, ADB. That topic is also getting covered. I'm sure this webinar series will be highly, enlightening for the participants who choose to join every Monday at 11 o'clock. The first session of this series is International Cooperation in Water Sector in India, role of Department of Water Resources, River Development and Ganga Rejuvenation under Ministry of Jal Shakti. This first session is basically a overview of international water cooperation that India is having with neighboring countries as well as countries outside across the world. I will start my presentation. Just give me a minute to share my PPT. I hope it is visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is it visible as a full screen?
Yes, sir. Full screen, sir.
Is it visible, sir? No issue.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. So, friends, I will be talking on international cooperation in water sector. As you all know, water is elixir of life, one of the most vital resource, which is essential for life, livelihood, and ecology. Livelihood, basically, because almost half of the human population across the world depends upon water and water-related activities for their livelihood. The water is also important for the ecology or the biosystem in which we live, the flora and fauna. And as you know, nowadays there is a lot of awareness in the society about the ecological needs of the water. Like many other resources, land, human resources, finance, minerals, water is also an important ingredient for the economic and social development of a country. Whether it is a developed countries or developing countries, they all require water for their economic development. It is also crucial for India in respect of food security and energy security. Not only in India, for every country, it's essential that they have sufficient water to cater to the needs of their food requirement, as well as energy requirement. In Indian context, it is much more important basically because we are having about 18% of population, and the population growth is going to be there in the coming decades, and we will have to produce sufficient food for our population, and the food basically comes from the agricultural activities, and agricultural activities requires water. In India, about 84% of the water goes for irrigation, and that is why the water resources development and management is so closely connected with the food security as well as energy security. Because of the increasing demands of water from all sectors in the last few decades globally, there are possibility of conflicts, basically because, as usual, there is a less supply and more demand. Water is a dynamic resource. If flowing water does not follow man-made political boundaries, whether it is flowing on the surface or underneath the surface, it normally crosses political boundaries at many locations. World's freshwater resources are shared by many countries. As you know, world has a very limited amount of or limited stock of fresh water. Out of the total water of the earth, including oceans and polar ice, only 2% is a fresh water. Out of this 2%, 90% of this 2% is locked in the in the two polar caps, ice caps, and also it is locked in the deep underground, which is not easily accessible to the human civilization. So a very small fraction of the total water is a fresh water, and that is why it needs to be managed and used very carefully. In the world, there are 263 transboundary lakes and river basins covering almost half of the Earth's surface. 145 countries have territory in these basins, and 30 countries lie entirely within them. If you take a look at the transboundary basin map of the world, you will see that almost 50% of the landmass is covered by these transboundary basins. And if you see the population density map, vis-a-vis the transboundary basin map, you will find that these transboundary basins are the host of high population or dense population areas. It is obviously basically because human civilization developed across the along the rivers. River basins have always been the cradle of human civilization, and that is why these transboundary basins are very important because they support large population of the world. Normally, we think about the surface water only, but groundwater is also equally important. Many times, the river basin, in a river basin, the surface water and groundwater act as a unitary whole. There is an interchange between surface water and groundwater. However, there are basins, there are aquifers which are, independent aquifers, and the whole of water resource available as a groundwater is very, very important to mankind, basically because it helps to serve more than 2 billion people who depend on groundwater. There are total 592 identified transboundary aquifers as shown in this map. And this map has been taken from International Groundwater Resource Assessment Center of United Nations. In the past 100 years, the global population has become 4 times, whereas the demand for water has increased 8-fold. The water demand, which was about only 500 to 600 BCM in 1920, is now about 4,600 BCM, and it is likely to increase 20% to 30% by 2050. So you can see the challenge that we are going to face in terms of water demand. And basically because there is a demand from all riparian states. There is a overexploitation of lakes, rivers, aquifers, which has impacted the fragile system. But in addition to this impact, it also gives rise to the conflicts among the riparian states. We know that climate change is having a profound impact on the reliability, sustainability, and availability of water supply. And human or mankind as a whole will have to face these challenges. In a recently concluded G20 summit in India, these issues were focused, deliberated, and agreed upon. And the joint communique that was released, it has a lot of importance and a lot of emphasis on these aspects. I would like to quote from the important personality across the world what they have to say about these increasing incidences of water conflicts. Former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon said, and I quote, "Water scarcity threatens economic and social gains and is a potent fuel for wars and conflicts." Unquote. Former Vice President of World Bank Ismail Serigildin has also said, and I quote, "Many of the wars of this century were about oil, but those of next century will be over water." And I unquote. Kofi Annan recently, former UN Secretary General, he had said, and I quote, "Fierce national competition over water resources have prompted fears that water issues contain the seeds of violent conflict. If all the world's people work together, a secure and sustainable water future can be ours." I unquote. So it's very easy that the visionaries or the top personalities across the world appreciate the danger to the world peace because of the water conflicts, and they emphasize the need for the people to work together for resolution of issues. There are, as I said, 263 boundary basins, and we expect that these boundary basins, the riparian nations, should have some cooperative management framework, some agreements, some treaties, some provisions to manage it collectively. However, out of these 263 basins, 158 lack any kind of such mechanism. And you can see that if there is no mechanism to manage a common river basin jointly in the form of a agreement or treaty, it becomes really difficult because unless the national conflicts within a nation, if there is a conflict between two states, they all governed by the constitutional provisions, law of the land. The Supreme Court gives judgment on the issue if there is a dispute. But when it comes to international water law, unless a country is party to a treaty party to agreement or party to a convention of the United Nations or international convention, they are not bound by any, they are not bound by any rules, and there is a possibility that every country will try to use the waters on its own way, and that will give rise to the conflicts. And in fact, during the period of 2000 to 2009, there were 94 registered conflicts where water played a key role. Now, what role water can play? There are three ways the water can play a role. As a trigger, the conflict can be due to issues arising out of the uses of water, sharing of water. The other role is it can act as a weapon. The water resources systems, reservoirs, dams, they have a potent energy stored in them, and sudden release of this energy can be very devastating. So there is a possibility of using it as a weapon. And third, the water systems which we have developed, whether it is the reservoirs, dams, canal system networks, water supply systems, pumping stations, they become casualty as a result of the conflict. So in the period from 2000 to 2009, there were 94 conflicts. And this went up very sharply during the period 2010 to 2018, which reported 263 registered conflicts, 123 as triggers, 29 as weapon, and 133 as a casualty. We know that during a conflict, the water resources structures become target, and the recent example is a conflict between Russia and Ukraine, and we knew that one of the dam got breached because of the conflict. The conflict can be of the stature that it can disturb regional peace, and such acute conflicts have been occurring now and then. Since 1948, there have been 37 such incidences where acute conflict over water happened. Now, it does give us a impression that water is really a subject which can lead to the conflict. Yes, water has been a subject of conflict among the nations, but at the same time, we must see the other side of the coin also, that water is a resource which brings two warring factions to a negotiation table. It's a resource which can be utilized in a just and fair manner. Equitable and rational distribution can be done among the party states if they sit together and work out an agreement. So even though there were 37 incidences since 1948, during the same time, 295 international water agreements were negotiated and signed in the same period. So water is also acting as a very good catalyst for forcing the people to come together and work out a joint mechanism. It is acting or forcing the people to cooperate over the water sharing and water management. And this is not new. Since time immemorial, the various states have been cooperating with in sharing of the water. The history of international water treaties starts from 2500 before Christ. The first recorded agreement for ending a water dispute along the Tigris River was signed between two Sumerian city-states of Lagash and Huma. And the pictures that you see below, they are the inscriptions of this treaty itself. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations has identified more than 3,600 treaties relating to international water resources dating from up to date 805 to 1984. So we have ample evidence that though water can be a cause of conflict, water can at the same time be a source of cooperation between the two countries. And such approach of cooperation promotes regional peace. It propels the economic development and social development of the region. It addresses the food security issues, which are so important for, particularly for the populous countries. It promotes international trade. It gives improved governance and regional integration. And one of the best example of the regional integration is the European Union, which is not only a political and economic integration, but there is a lot of areas in which there is a cooperation among the party states. And cooperation for transboundary rivers is very, very comprehensive in respect of European Union. There is a special UNEC convention wherein all European nations, almost all European nations are party to this convention. And this convention provides a legal and institutional framework on which this cooperation happens in the European Union. The approach of cooperation also promotes ecosystem preservation. As I said, nowadays the society is so much aware about the need of water for the ecosystem, minimum flow, so on and so forth. And obviously, the climate change, what we were talking about, which is the focus of every international forum nowadays, including the G20 summit that happened in India recently. Nearer home, we are part of South Asia. Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka. These are the countries. And we have our own challenges of food, water, and energy security. We have 3.5% of land, 5% of water, but 25% of population. About 40% cultivated land is irrigated, contributing to 60 to 80% of the food production in this area. China is our neighbor. And if we include China, then about 43% of the population is there in the South Asia plus China. So one can imagine the importance of water sector for this region. And this is the region where one of the largest basins, river basins are located. Indus, Ganges, Brahmaputra, Barak, these are the river basins which are shared by the South Asian countries and China. If you see the blue part, which is the Indus Basin, which originates in the Western Tibet, flows through India, and then goes to Pakistan. There is one more tributary to the Indus coming from Afghanistan, that is called Kabul River, which is not shown in this figure. We have a Ganga Basin being shared by Nepal, India, Bangladesh, and Bhutan, partially Bhutan. There is a Brahmaputra and Barak Basin, which is shared by China, Bangladesh, India, and Bhutan. For many rivers, for some of these rivers, India is a upper riparian, and for some of the rivers, India is a lower riparian. Say, for example, Brahmaputra, which originates in Tibet, China is a upper riparian, and India and Bangladesh is a lower riparian. For Indus, India is a major upper riparian, and Pakistan is a lower riparian. We normally talk about the surface water or river basins. But as I said, transboundary aquifers are also very important. Though as of now, international cooperation on the transboundary aquifers, particularly in the South Asia, is not right now on the anvil. But there are cases across the world where transboundary aquifers have also given rise to conflicts, and the riparian state has to work together. They have to sit together and sign agreements and treaties for optimum and reasonable utilization of these aquifers. So in South Asia, we have 5 aquifers which have been identified by UNIGRAC. Indus River Plain Aquifer, which is located in which is shared by Pakistan and India. Then south of Outer Himalayas Aquifer, India and Nepal. East Ganges River Plain Aquifer, Bangladesh and India. Southern of Himalaya Mountains, India and Bhutan. And mid of Brahmaputra River, that is India and China. These aquifers are shown in the map. But as I said, we have yet to grapple fully with the surface water, and probably after that we will have issues on our hand for the aquifers as such. So right now in South Asia, there is no much talk about the sharing of the transboundary aquifers. International characters of the rivers flowing from India and to India is an important factor in national water resources planning. We know that there is a national perspective plan formulated by the Union Government of India for interlinking of rivers, and particularly the Himalayan component of this project has many links which has international implications in the northern India. Most of the storages are planned in the north and northeastern states, which are near the international borders, and that is why we will have to use water diplomacy and water resources cooperation for optimal utilization of water resources. And it is also important from the strategic view because when water is flowing from another country to your country or from your country to another country, it has implications in terms of water use, in terms of release of water during the flood season, and it also has a strategic importance. India's position on international water cooperation stems from the provisions given in the Constitution. As we all know, Constitution is the fundamental law of India, and all our legislative, executive, and judicial framework stands on the provisions of or derives their authority from the provisions of Constitution of India. So in our Constitution, there are directive principles of state policy, which states that promotion of international peace and security, the state shall endeavor to promote international peace and security, maintain just and honorable relations between the nations, foster respect for international law and treaty obligations in the dealings of organized peoples with one another, and encourage settlement of international disputes by arbitration. So they are very important, directives to the directive given in the Constitution. There is an Article 253 in the Constitution which empowers our Parliament to enact any law required for implementing any treaty, agreement, convention with any other country or countries, or any decision made at any international conference, association, or other body. As some of you might be knowing, the Environmental Protection Act that we have in force in our country was constituted on the basis of this article, wherein India was signatory to the Stockholm Declaration, and to give force or to implement that Stockholm Declaration, Government of India, Parliament passed the Environmental Protection Act. So as you see here, it is within the competence of central government to do anything and everything that is required to be done for international water cooperation. It is not at all within the purview of a state to do anything about the international cooperation. The authority for entering into treaty, agreement, and convention is totally with the Government of India, and Parliament has a full power to make any law in this regard. We have a national water policy. The latest policy was adopted in 2012. The first policy was adopted in 1987. It was reviewed in 2002, and the latest version is 2012. In the national water policy also, there are very clear-cut principles given regarding transboundary rivers. It says, even while accepting the principle of basin as a unit of development, on the basis of practicability and easy implementability, effort should be made to enter into international agreements with neighboring countries on bilateral basis for exchange of hydrological data of international rivers on near real-time basis. Clause 13.2 says, negotiations about sharing and management of water of international rivers should be done on bilateral basis in consultative association with riparian states, keeping paramount the national interest. Adequate institutional arrangement at the center should be set up to implement international agreements. The word in national interest is very important in respect of international relations. As you might be knowing, that when we deal as a sovereign nation with other countries across the world, the basis of any association is always a national interest. Okay. The national water policy also says that adequate institutional arrangement at the center should be set up to implement international agreements. So the responsibility of providing institutional arrangement at the center lies with the central government, and that is where the role of Department of Water Resources, River Development, and Ganga Rejuvenation comes into play. The department is the nodal department for planning and development of water resource of India as a national resource. It plays very crucial role in implementation mechanism for existing international treaties, agreements, and MOUs that India signs with other countries. Cooperation with the neighboring countries is also required on many other aspects. It's not only the case of sharing of the water, division of the water, but there are many issues associated with the water resources, like real-time data sharing, hydrological data throughout the year, or flood forecasting data during the monsoon season or the flood season. There are water quality issues to be resolved. At many places, a river acts as a common boundary, international boundary between the two countries. For example, Nepal and India, Pakistan and India, India and Bangladesh. The shifting course of these boundary rivers is also an issue to be resolved. Then anti-erosion works are taken up by both the countries, and there is always the impact of anti-erosion work of one country to the other side. So these issues are required to be resolved. Flood embankments on common rivers, inundation issues because of the structures that are built by one country. It has a potential of inundating the area of the other country. Joint investigations, studies, joint hydropower development, etc. One of the important functions that the Department of Water Resources undertakes is monitoring of the transboundary rivers of India and responding to the issues pertaining to the waters of these rivers. Now, this is very important. For some reasons, for some rivers, we have an agreement, we have treaties, but there are rivers for which we do not have treaties. And as I said in the beginning, when we don't have any treaty, there is no compulsion on any country to consult other country when they are doing any structural they are taking any structural measures or constructing any project. There is no compulsion as such, and that is why it becomes very important to monitor these rivers throughout, so as to find out or so as to ensure that if there is any intervention being made by other country on the river, we should be in the knowledge of it. We should be able to gauge the impact of that structure on our country in terms of quantity of water that is coming to us, quality of water that is coming to us, its impact during the flood season, its impact in terms of strategic issues, as how that particular thing can be used during the era of conflict, during the time of conflict, so on and so forth. So our department keeps these things keeps on monitoring all these rivers. Not only the cooperation with the neighboring countries with whom we share rivers, transboundary rivers, but cooperation is also important with the other countries of the world in the field of water resources development and management, because many countries in the world have similar situations like India, and they have a better, they have better knowledge, better systems, which we would like to adopt, or we also have developed capabilities in certain areas which other countries of the world like to learn from us. So the cooperation that happens with other countries of the world is in the form of training and capacity building, transfer and share of technology, sharing of experiences and expertise, specific studies and research, consultancy services, support for developmental activities. And all these measures and activities are undertaken by Department of Water Resources, River Development and Ganga Rejuvenation. As I said, we do have treaties with the neighboring countries. We have 3 treaties pertaining to the common rivers. One is the Indus Treaty, which was signed in 1960 with Pakistan, Ganges Treaty, signed with Bangladesh in 1996, and Mahakali Treaty, signed with Nepal in 1996. In this webinar series, we have a specific lectures focusing on each treaty separately, where the legal, technical, and all aspects will be handled much in detail. In this particular presentation, my effort will be to touch upon those aspects of these treaties for which the Department of Water Resources provides institutional mechanism for implementation of these treaties. We do not have any international treaty with Bhutan and China. However, there are many numerous agreements, project-specific agreements or data-specific agreements, and MOUs with Bhutan and China, and we'll see the details of it later on. So I will start with cooperation with Bangladesh and what mechanism our Department of Water Resources provides for various issues of the water resources that we have with Bangladesh. With Bangladesh, there is an issue of sharing of Ganga, Brahmaputra, Meghna, and 51 other common rivers. An Indo-Bangladesh Joint River Commission, which is headed by the water resources ministers of both the countries, is functioning since 1972. So we have a very good mechanism at the top level, which is functioning for the last about more than 50 years. 38 meetings of this GRC have been held by Department of Water Resources. The last one was held in August 2022. The sharing of water between India and Bangladesh became an issue in 1975 with the commissioning of Farakka Barrage. As you might be knowing, that we have a Farakka Barrage on River Ganga just upstream of a few kilometers upstream of international boundary with Bangladesh. With this barrage, the issue become a bit problematic, basically because we diverted the water from Ganga to supplement the waters of Hooghly River, on which our Kolkata port is situated. Kolkata port requires sufficient depth of water to function properly, and during the summer season, basically January to May, there is not there usually is a less amount of water, and that is why we diverted the water of Ganga to Hooghly so as to support the functioning of Kolkata port. But then, because during the summer season, India also has its own needs, Bangladesh also has its own needs, and the water of Ganga during that period is not sufficient to the not sufficient to cater to the needs of both the countries, and that is why Bangladesh raised this issue diplomatically with India also, and also at number of international forums. A series of agreements were put in place until 1988 to resolve the issues. These were all ad hoc agreements, and after 1988, the things became more sore. No, resolution was in sight till 1996, when Ganga Treaty was signed by the Prime Minister of India and Bangladesh on 12th of December. And this treaty shall remain in force for a period of 30 years to be renewable by mutual consent. For monitoring of this treaty implementation, a joint committee has been set up, and this committee, which is under the aegis of Department of Water Resources, oversees the joint measurements on Ganga at Farakka, which is on the Indian side, and Ganga at Harding Bridge, which is on the Bangladesh side, during the lean season. As I said, the treaty divided the water of Ganga at Farakka, particularly for the summer months. And this is a table or the formula given here. I'm not going to go through the details of this formula. It will be covered when a special session is taken on Ganges Treaty. This treaty stipulates an emergency situation when discharge fall below 50,000 cusecs, necessitating an immediate dialogue between the two countries to decide on the sharing arrangement. So Department of Water Resources basically implements the treaty, and it has necessary institutional arrangements in place. In addition to the Ganges Treaty, there are many other issues of common interest that we keep on discussing with the Bangladesh government. A joint committee of experts under Secretary WR has been formed to work out long-term resolution of water sharing of rivers that includes Tista, Feni, Jaldhara, Manu, Khowai, Gumti, Mohri, and Torsa. Particularly for Tista, we have a barrage on Indian side. We also have a barrage on Bangladesh. Also has a barrage on Bangladesh side, and summer flow of Tista is also not sufficient to cater to the needs of both, that is India and Bangladesh. Both countries have considerable command area on Tista, and a discussion has been going for quite some time to find out some solution. And the concept is to basically use the waters of Tista in association with the waters of other adjoining rivers, including Brahmaputra, in an integrated manner. Then only it will be possible to augment the waters of Tista as well as Ganga. If the water from Brahmaputra and other rivers is diverted, then only it is possible to supplement the lean flows of Tista as well as Ganga. And this particular treaty also calls on both the sides to cooperate on finding a permanent solution or long-term augmentation plan to augment the waters. There are other issues like reconciliation of discharge data of the Tista, water quality issues. There are many small rivers which form boundary between India and Bangladesh. They keep on shifting the boundary. Then impact of anti-erosion measures, exchange of hydrological and flood discharge data in real time. We do provide hydrological data as well as flood discharge data for all the rivers that flow from India to Bangladesh, which is very helpful for the Bangladeshi government, basically because they can take remedial measures, shift the population in time. Flood embankments on common rivers is also an area, and these all issues are being addressed through the Indo-Bangladesh Joint River Commissions, headed by the respective water resources ministers, and Department of Water Resources provides all the support for that. This is a map of Nepal, and we will talk about the India-Nepal cooperation. As you can see it here, there are many rivers which originate in Himalaya, pass through Nepal, and then enter India. Major rivers like Kosi, Gandak, Rapti, Ghagra, Sharda. These are the main rivers which flow from Nepal to India. And there are hundreds of smaller rivulets that flow from Nepal to India in between. There is a lot of scope for cooperation in water sector between India and Nepal, and many projects have been conceptualized, including Pancheshwar multipurpose projects, Purnagiri, West Seti hydroelectric project, Karnali, Upper Karnali, Bagmati, Kamla, Naumure, Buri Gandak, San Kosi, Sapt Kosi. Many projects have been conceptualized, which has hydropower benefits. These projects also have a big benefit of irrigation for the Nepal side as well as for the Indian side, particularly the upper irrigation in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. These projects also offer very high level of flood protection for these rivers, because when we can have a storages in Nepal, they have an impact of moderating the floods downstream areas of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. Hydropower potential particularly is very high for Nepal, 42,000, and it is a techno-economically feasible also. India is a primary market for hydropower. However, the cooperation between India and Nepal is not going the way we would like it to go in respect of hydropower, joint development of hydropower. We have given assistance to Nepal in hydropower development in the past. 4 schemes like Pokhara, Trisuli, Western Gandak, Devighat have already been implemented. However, presently, most of the hydropower development that is happening in Nepal is in consultation with the other private players from the other countries, and very little is from Indian side. But we do have conceptualized many projects, as I said earlier. As far as international agreements are concerned, we have agreements with Nepal since 1929. In 1929, we had Sardar Agreement, and then in 1991 there is Tanakpur Paraj Agreement also. Both these agreements were subsumed later on in the Mahakali Treaty, which signed in 1996. And this treaty has a Pancheshwar multi-purpose project at its core. This particular project, the treaty, revolves around this particular project, which is nothing but a integrated development of the Mahakali River. We also had 2 more agreements, Kosi and Gandak. They were amended also later on, and the works that were undertaken under these agreements are already functioning well. The project has been completed and they are functioning very well. In addition to Kosi and Gandak, as I said, we have a Mahakali Treaty, and we are also cooperating on multi-purpose projects, Sankoshi, Sapkosi, Kamla and Bagmati, which are in the Sankosi and Sapkosi is basically in the DPR stage, and Kamla and Bagmati are in the pre-feasibility and feasibility stage. As I said, Mahakali Treaty is very important for integrated development of Mahakali River. It came into force in June 1997. It has a validity of 75 years with a provision of review by both the countries at 10 years interval was earlier as required by the earlier party. As I said, the cooperation with Nepal is not going the way we would like to go. There is a lot of scope for water resources development, which will be beneficial for both the countries. But there is there are many reasons as to why it is not going so. We have a multi-layer mechanism, institutional mechanism under the aegis of Department of Water Resources to talk to the counterparts in Nepal. We have a joint ministerial level commission, JMCWR, headed by the ministers of water resources of India and Nepal. We have a joint committee on water resources JCWR headed by Secretary of Water Resources of India and Nepal. We have a joint group of experts headed by Chairman CWC, which basically monitors the physical and financial progress of various works undertaken together. There is a joint team of experts of India and Nepal headed by member RM, CWC on India side, joint committee on Kosi and Gandak, joint committee on inundation and flood management. As you can see, we have a multi-layer mechanism to talk to the counterpart, and these all mechanisms are under the aegis of DOWR. Sun-Kosi and Sapt-Kosi project, which is a very important project for India, as it offers a huge benefit of flood control in the Kosi River. India and Nepal have agreed for the joint investigations and DPR preparation. There is a special office called Joint Project Office, which has been established in Nepal since 2004, and that office is undertaking the DPR and investigation. However, the progress of this investigation or DPR preparation is still not completed. The office is being given extension from time to time by India. As you can see it here, the Sapt-Kosi High Dam Multipurpose Project and Sun-Kosi Storage Cum Diversion Scheme has a lot of benefit to both India and Nepal in terms of power generation and also in terms of lakhs of hectares of irrigation, and obviously the flood moderation benefit, which is important for both the countries. So the DPR preparation is going on. It is not yet finalized. There are two other projects which are also very beneficial to both the countries, Kamla and Bagmati. The work of preparing feasibility and pre-feasibility report have been given to that JPO, Joint Project Office, which was established in Viratnagar. They are working on it. However, here also the progress is not much, basically because of the security situation in Nepal. In addition to these aspects, there is a cooperation in respect of HO data and flow forecasting data. There are 42 meteorological sites in Nepalese territory, which was put in operation since 1989. Nepalese side also transmits hydrological data in respect of 5 key locations located on the rivers of Ganga, Kosi, Rapti, Bagmati, and Mahananda twice a day. There is also a master plan for upgrading the data transmission system and exchange of hydrological and meteorological data. Government of India is also preparing or proposing to increase the number of sites in the Nepalese territory so that the Indian authorities, which deals with management of these rivers, they get more detailed data about the hydrological situation and flood situation. As I said, there are many small rivulets which come from Nepal to India in addition to these big rivers, and these rivulets also have many works being undertaken by both the countries, and these works do cause inundation issues, and so there is a specific committee called Nepal India Joint Committee on Inundation and Flood Management. This committee has been entrusted with the task of identifying the problem areas and suggest possible solutions on a continuous basis. Actually, whenever such embankments creates any issue or any inundation issues, funds for such construction of embankments in Nepal are being provided by Ministry of External Affairs India on the recommendation of this committee. Now coming to the issue of cooperation with Pakistan. As I said earlier also, in this presentation, I'm only touching upon the institutional mechanisms which are in place for which DOWR, RD and GR plays a vital role in providing the institutional mechanism. The legal aspects, technical aspects of these treaties and nuances of these treaties, the issues under these treaties will be discussed in a special session which will be scheduled later in this webinar series. So as far as cooperation with the Pakistan is concerned, we have one of the biggest river basin as a transboundary basin, common basin, that is Indus. The main Indus tributaries, Satluj, Beas, Ravi, Chenab, Jhelum and Indus. They form the main tributaries. As I said, there is one more tributary which comes from Afghanistan and joins Indus, but that is not that it doesn't flow through India as such. There is Indus Treaty signed between India and Pakistan. And why it was required to be signed? Basically because at the time of independence, the boundary line between India and Pakistan was delineated across the Indus Basin, thus making Pakistan a low riparian. Two important irrigation headworks, one at Madhopur on Ravi and other at Firozpur on Satluj, were left in Indian territory, and rest of the irrigation system was in Pakistan. As you might be knowing, during the British India, when India and Pakistan was one country, there was an integrated irrigation system, and this integrated irrigation system was partly in India, and most of the part was in Pakistan, and the waters of Satluj, Ravi, Bias was flowing to Pakistan territory, which is now a Pakistan territory. So during partition, when Madhopur and Firozpur, the main headworks, came to the Indian territory, and most of the irrigation command went to Pakistan. Obviously, there was an issue because the control of these irrigation systems came to the Indian side, and dispute arose between the two countries regarding the utilization of irrigation water from existing facilities. So the Pakistan side at that time internationalized the issue, and the negotiations were held under the good offices of International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, that is the World Bank, which culminated in the signing of Indus Water Treaty in 1960. The treaty itself was signed on 19th of September, but it became effective with retrospectively with 1st of April 1960. Now, what is the essence of the treaty? The essence of the treaty is entire water of three eastern rivers, that is Satluj, Bias, and Ravi, was allocated to India, except for domestic, non-consumptive, and irrigation use by the Pakistan, as specified specifically. The Pakistan was awarded the waters of the three western rivers, namely Indus, Chenab, and Jhelum, less certain specified uses by India. For western rivers, India is under obligation to let flow and shall not permit any interference with these waters, except for the domestic and non-consumptive use as provided in the treaty. To implement the treaty, there is a mechanism of two Indus commissioners, and this mechanism and their purpose is given in the treaty itself, and how they will function, that is also given in the treaty. So we have a Indus commissioner on Indian side and Pakistan commissioner from Pakistan side, and this Indus commissioner on Indian side is basically a part of the organization structure of the Department of Water Resources, River Development and Ganga Rejuvenation. Under the Indus Treaty, there is no quantitative limit on Indian uses from the western sector, from the western rivers, for the purpose of domestic use, industrial use, schemes of rural and urban water supply, control or use of water for non-consumptive use like navigation, floating of timber, flood protection, flood control, fishing, fish culture, wildlife, or any other such non-consumptive beneficial purpose. This all is permitted without any quantitative limit, provided exclusive of seepage and evaporation incidental to the use, the water remains in or is returned to the same river or its tributary. So it's very clear in the treaty. We have also been permitted to build storages up to 3.6 million hectare feet for various purposes, but because of the various reasons, up till now we could not build any storage. However, we have built numerous run-of-the-river hydropower plants, because there is no limit on how much hydropower we can generate from these rivers, of the water of which is allocated to Pakistan. India has also been permitted agriculture use of 9.12 lakh acres, including irrigated crop area of 6.42 acres as on 1/4/1960. Till the permitted storage are constructed. So because we have not yet constructed any storage, so we have as of now, we have a limit of 9.12 lakh agriculture use, irrigation use. Against this, right now we have an ICO of about 7.59. So we are much short than what we have been permitted. And once we have we create storages of up to 3.6 million acre feet, the total ICA can go up to 13.43 lakh acres. So many times people have apprehension that we have given all the water to Pakistan and very little water is there for India. That's not true. We have been allocated. We have an unrestricted use of water for non-consumptive use, and even for the agriculture purposes, we can go up to 13.43 lakh, and there is no limit on usage of water for run of the river plants or hydropower generation. And we have actually developed hydropower to the tune of 3600 megawatt on the western rivers. 7200 megawatt is under progress, and total potential is about 18,600. As far as eastern rivers are concerned, the water of which is totally given to India, except some used by Pakistan for domestic and non-consumptive use. So we have created a lot of storage on the eastern rivers, that is Ravi, Salaj and Chenab. Ravi, Bias and Salaj, not Chenab, Ravi, Bias and Salaj. And we are using about 96 to 97% of the total waters of the eastern rivers. The mechanism of two commissioners constitute the Permanent Indus Water Commission, whose purpose is to basically establish and maintain cooperative arrangements for the implementation of the treaty, to promote cooperation between the parties in the development of waters of the rivers, to settle promptly any question arising between the parties. The Commission is also required to undertake periodical inspection of the rivers for ascertaining the facts. The Commission has also to meet regularly, at least once a year, alternatively in India and Pakistan. And the commissioners may also meet as and when requested by either party. They are also required to submit annual report to the Government of India and to Government of Pakistan. In fulfillment of the obligations of this treaty, India is supplying and has supplied and is supplying requisite data of projects on western rivers, including small plants, run of the river plants, etc. Every month, the data in respect of flows and utilization of the waters of the rivers of Indian Basin are being exchanged between India and Pakistan. And every year, before 30th November, India furnishes to Pakistan the data regarding the irrigated crop area from the western rivers. The flood flows of rivers of Ravi, Satluj, Bias, and Jammu Tawi, the Chenab and Jhelum were being transmitted to Pakistan through telegram since 1962. Pakistan then requested for the broadcasting mode. From 1974, the data was given to Pakistan through broadcasting mode. Now they have requested for a telephonic communication, and from year 2006 onwards, the data is provided to Pakistan through telephone. A control room is operated round the clock in the Indus Wing during the flood season for the above purpose. There is no charging to the Pakistan for this communication of flood data, even though in the treaty there is a provision for the same. And this is purely a goodwill gesture from our country towards Pakistan in response to the request made by Pakistan on humanitarian ground. Indus Treaty is being seen across the world as a very good example of a international cooperation. Since the signing of the treaty has been implemented well by both the parties. However, in the recent times, there have been many disputes being raised by Pakistan on the projects that are being constructed by India. And there are two specific projects which were in the limelight because of the disputes. One is a Baglihar hydroelectric project, 900 megawatt capacity in phase 1 and 2, which was referred to the neutral expert as per the Indus Treaty. And then there is a Kishan Ganga project, 330 megawatt, which was referred to the Court of Arbitration in, and the decision came in 2013. So there is a clear-cut provision in the Indus Treaty as to for which dispute there will be neutral expert. If there is any issue pertaining to the technicalities or engineering issues regarding the design or design parameters of a project, then the issue is given to the neutral expert. And if there is any issue regarding the legal point of the treaty, legal interpretation of the treaty, then it goes to the Court of Arbitration. So Bagliar issue was basically a technical issue, whereas Kishan Ganga issue was pertaining to the interpretation of the treaty, and that is why it went to Court of Arbitration, and it gave award in 2013. Even though the award was given by Court of Arbitration, after 2013 also, Pakistan kept on raising the issues, and the further matters that Pakistan has raised are now being dealt by Court of Arbitration that is located in Netherlands. And a neutral expert has also been again appointed to look into the technical matters. So we'll have a brief overview as to what was the Baglihar difference. Baglihar is a project located in Jammu and Kashmir. In 2005, Pakistan approached the World Bank, which is one of the signatory to this treaty, to appoint a neutral expert to address a difference which could not be resolved between the two nations, between the two commissioners that work for the implementation of the treaty. So this World Bank appointed neutral expert gave a gave his determination after following the proper procedure as given in the Indus Treaty. Most of the decision given by the neutral expert were in favor of India. This difference, which were referred to neutral expert, were of the technical nature regarding what should be the maximum design flood, whether the project should have a spillway or it should be ungated or gated, what should be the level of the gate, provision for artificial raising of the water level, pondage, regarding pondage, level of the power intake, so on and so forth. The determination given by neutral expert is largely in favor of India. The project is now completed and is operational, and there is no issue as far as Baglihar is concerned. The Kishan Ganga dispute was basically a legal dispute. Through a request for arbitration dated 17th of May 2010, Pakistan initiated proceedings against India in pursuant to the Article 9 and Annex G of the treaty. In its request for arbitration, Pakistan stated that the parties have failed to resolve the dispute concerning the Kishan Ganga hydroelectric project by agreement pursuant to the Article 9(4) of the treaty. The Court of Arbitration gave some interim measures. It also gave partial award later on, and finally, the final award was given in December 2013. You can see the location of Kishan Ganga project. The question that was referred to the Court of Arbitration was basically regarding whether India's proposed diversion of the river Kishan Ganga, which is called Neelam in Pakistan, into another tributary, the Bonar Madhumati Nala, being one of the central element of the Kishan Ganga project, breaches India's legal obligations owed to Pakistan under treaty. Basically, in Kishan Ganga, it is a run-of-the-river plant. We are diverting the water through a powerhouse, and we are releasing the water in an adjoining Nala, and the Nala again joins the Kishan Ganga. But Pakistan objected, saying that you should not release the water in Nala, you should release the water directly into the river. And there was another issue which was referred to the Court of Arbitration. It was regarding the depletion or bringing the reservoir level of a run-of-the-river plant below dead storage level in any circumstances except in case of unforeseen emergency. So these two basically were the questions referred to it. The partial award allowed India to divert the water to the that Nala, and India's contention or India's position was upheld. However, India's request to allow it to deplete the reservoir below DSL was not agreed to. One of the important aspects of this award is that this award directed India to release a minimum flow or keep a minimum flow in the river. Now, in the Indus Treaty, there is no provision of any minimum flow, but Pakistan raised the issue of minimum flow. Court of Arbitration also upheld the request of Pakistan, basically because whenever there is a dispute, whenever any matter goes to a judicial authority for adjudication, the basic or the fundamental source of that adjudication is the treaty or the agreement that is signed between the two But if there is some dispute which is not clearly addressed in the treaty, or there is no provision about it, then in that case, the judicial authority can always take a recourse to the current principles of international water law. And accordingly, the Court of Arbitration, accepted Pakistan's respect. Though Pakistan requested for a flow of 40 cubic, India submitted 4.25 cubic. The final award was for 9 cubic of minimum flow. But it is a very good case of international water law, that in case a dispute goes to the international forum, the forum, that judicial authority not only sees what is given in the treaty, because the treaty is the basic source of main source of legal provisions. But if there is anything which is not found in the treaty, then they can always take a decision based on the international convention, whether it is a Helsinki rules, UN Water Convention, or the current legal practice. As far as Kishanganga is concerned, even after the award was given by Court of Arbitration, Pakistan continued to object and again approached the World Bank for intervention. The project work is, however, continued, because in the treaty there is no provision for staying of the work. So the work continued. It is completed in May 2018. Honorable Prime Minister Modi dedicated the project to the nation in May 2018, and it is operational. However, Pakistan continued its objections, approached World Bank, and now World Bank has referred those objections. These objections, there are basically 4 objections on Kishanganga, 3 more objections on Ratle project, which is India is constructing on in Jammu and Kashmir. So both these issues, there are total 7 issues. They have been combined, and it has been referred by the World Bank to Court of Arbitration. Basically, this reference by World Bank has been objected by India, basically because those issues are of technical nature, and as per the treaty, for resolving the technical matters, the matter needs to be referred to the neutral expert rather than to COA. World Bank has referred these matters to neutral experts. So now there is a very peculiar situation that Court of Arbitration is also dealing with the same issues, and neutral expert is also dealing with the same issues. Incidentally, today only a team from Department of Water Resources is going abroad to present their case to the neutral expert. And this matter is pending at both the forums. India is not, India has objected to the COA proceedings, and India is not taking part in that proceeding because it is already given to the neutral expert as well. One more development that has happened is there is a feeling in India that treaty needs to be renegotiated, and accordingly, India has given a notice to Pakistan for renegotiation in January 2023. Coming to cooperation with China, we have one of the world's largest river basin, that is Brahmaputra basin, common between China, India, and Bangladesh. China is Upper Riparian. There is no agreement or treaty with China regarding the sharing of Brahmaputra. However, there are many MOUs or agreements that are being signed between India and China for specific purposes. The first MOU was sharing of hydrological data for River Brahmaputra, or Arumjangbu, as it is called in Chinese region. This was signed in 2002, by which China gave us the data of 3 stations which are upstream of India, Nugesha, Yangon, and Nuxia. And the data was given from 1st of June to 15th of October. This MOU was valid for 5 years. It was renewed in 2007. It expired in 2007. It was renewed in 2008. It was further again renewed in 2013 and 18 with the provision for expansion of the the time period as well as one more provision was added whereby in addition to the flood season, the data can also be sought from China during the non-flood season by mutual consultation. So this MOU is a base for transmitting data or getting data from China in respect of Brahmaputra River. We also have a MOU in respect of Satluj River, or Langfin Jangbo as it is called in Chinese region, because Satluj originates in the western Ladakh and it then travels to India. This MOU, the first MOU for this river was river that was signed in 2005. It was renewed again in 2010, again 2015. This MOU expired in 2020. Efforts are on to renew it, but even though there is no MOU, the Chinese side is providing data to India on the request of India. As far as River Satluj is concerned, there were two incidences in the past, in 2005 and 2013, where in the Chinese region, because of the landslide, artificial lake got formed, which became visible to us in a satellite imagery, and there was a possibility that these artificial lakes will breach, naturally, and they will have a flooding downstream. During that period, we requested China to share the data about this lake extent and level, etc. Fortunately, the breach was not severe and there was no much issue. But yes, there is a cooperation to that extent for sharing of hydrological data. There is an expert level mechanism which is in place basically to work out the modalities for implementation of the MOU and sign the implementation the plan. Every year a meeting is conducted alternatively in China and India. Up till now 14 meetings have been conducted. 12 meetings were in physically, 13 meetings were physically, and one was in VC mode. 13 meeting was in VC mode. 14 meeting was conducted very recently in the month of June. So in this expert level mechanism, Indian side is led by Joint Secretary level officer, who is a commissioner B&B of Department of Water Resources, and there is a counterpart from Chinese side also. When it comes to Brahmaputra River, we always see media reports regarding Chinese projects on Yarlung Tanspo or Brahmaputra River. We also have many reports regarding the 100-kilometer long tunnel to divert the water of Brahmaputra in Tibet to the water scarcity area of Xinjiang region of China. In the recently, there was a news also, and it's in the public domain also, that in the 14th five-year plan of Chinese government, they have made a provision of 16 gigawatt hydropower project inside the Grand Canyon, inside the Great Bend, where the Brahmaputra takes a turn to enter into India, where a river drop of 2000 meter is there in a short span. So this 60 gigawatt project is there in the 5-year plan of Chinese government, and India has taken up the issue through diplomatic channels and other established channels also to convey its concern about it. Chinese government always say that they will not take any action that will harm the interests of the downstream regions. But in the absence of any agreement, treaty, there is no exchange of data. There is no exchange of tools to see the project as we have in our industry team. India has also responded to these media reports. There was a media report whereby Commissioner B&B of India also indicated of hydropower projects in Arunachal Pradesh by Indian government to mitigate the potential adverse impact of the Chinese dam projects. But these are the issues which are always taken up diplomatically by Indian governments with the Chinese government in the absence of any treaty or agreement. We have very good cooperation with the Bhutan. Bhutan is also a upstream riparian for many rivers which flow or originate in Himalayas, flow through Bhutan and then come down to India. There are four major river basins: Torsa, Wangchu, Sankosh, and Manas. All these rivers are having a large snow-fed perennial flow, which afford a very attractive possibility of hydropower development. A scheme titled Comprehensive Scheme for Establishment of Hydrometeorological and FF Network on Rivers common to India and Bhutan is also in operation. This network consists of 35 HO sites located in Bhutan, being maintained by the Royal Government of Bhutan with funding from India. And the data received from these stations, it is used by India, particularly by CWC, for formulating the flood forecast. With Bhutan also, we have multi-layered, mechanism under the aegis of Department of Water Resources. We have a joint expert team consisting of officials from Government of India and Royal Government of Bhutan, continuously reviewing the progress and other requirements of the scheme. A matter relating to the problems of floods created by the rivers originating in Bhutan and coming to India was also taken up with the Government of Bhutan. Bhutan has very high potential of hydropower, about 30,000 megawatt. And India and Bhutan has a close cooperation for development of this hydropower project. The hydropower that is generated in Bhutan, India is the main consumer. And this hydropower revenue is a very big boost to the Bhutanese economy. We have executed jointly many projects which are in operation like Chukha, Karichu, Tala, Mangdechu. There are many projects which are in the execution and planning stage, which includes Punat Sangchu Phase 1, which is already in construction work is going on. There was some issue of right bank slide and the work was on hold. The option of barrage was being explored, but technically it was found to be non-feasible. So now they are again working on design of a appropriate dam for this particular project. Punat Sangchu 2 work is in very advanced stage, and this particular project is likely to be completed in 2024. There is a Kholangchu project for 600 megawatt. A joint venture between India and Bhutan was formed for it. Work is yet to start. I think they are going to take the review of joint venture between India and Bhutan. Bhutan government has some time back has indicated to go ahead alone for this project. This is a Puri Gongri, which is a big project, 2,640 megawatts. Investigation is in progress, and DPR is being prepared by WAPCOS. Sankosh is also one of the big project having capacity 2,585. This DPR is being prepared by CWC and TSDC. We have few rivers common with Myanmar also, particularly the small streams rising in eastern Manipur. They drain into Myanmar. We have small irrigation projects in Manipur. We have also developed a Loktak hydroelectric project having a 105 megawatt capacity. There is a likelihood of little likelihood of any conflict of interest with Myanmar. However, Myanmar also has a very huge hydropower potential, about 1,000 megawatt, and there is a scope for Indo-Myanmar cooperation in jointly developing this hydropower potential, particularly on the Chinwin River, which can be of mutual benefit. India was doing certain works with Myanmar. NHPC was working on the DPR and investigations of Samanti and Shweje project. However, later on, the government of Myanmar withdrew from this project. However, there is one project called Kaladan Multimodal Transport System, which is very of very importance to India. This project is being implemented, which basically gives access to India through Myanmar. Kolkata port will get connected to Sitwe port by sea route. From Sitwe to Peletwa, that is by river, navigation, Kaladan river navigation, and from Peletwa to boundary of the Mizoram is by road. So this road work is going on. The jetty at Peletwa and Sitwa is ready. So shortly we are expecting that this alternate route to northeast will get started. As I said, this was about the cooperation and the role of DOWR for cooperation with the neighboring countries. But as I said, we also cooperate with other countries across the world in terms of training and capacity building, transfer and share of technology, sharing of experiences and expertise, specific studies and research, consultancy services, support for developmental activities, so on and so forth. And if you see the map, they are the major nations like Australia, Japan, Cambodia, Tanzania, Israel, Morocco, EU, USA, Iran. We have comprehensive agreements with these countries, and there are many more also. So we have MOUs, Ministry of Jal Shakti, Department of Water Resources is the main, organization which signs with the, MOUs with these countries. We have MOUs with Australia, Republic of Rwanda, Iran, Iraq, Fiji, Bahrain. With Australia, we have a provision of joint working group which meets frequently almost every year in India and Australia. And we have taken up many studies in association with Australia. Basically, when we sign MOU for cooperation with other countries, there is always an element of transfer of technology and training and capacity building in the area of decision support system, integrated water resources management, recycle and reuse of water, water quality management, river development, advances in water governances, and so on and so forth. We also have MOU with European Union, which is effective from 2016, which is due in the next renewal of which is due in the next November. There is also provision of joint working under the aegis of Indo-European Water Partnership. Many various studies like Tapi Basin, Ramganga Basin is being undertaken. Study tours are being undertaken to European Union to see the water governance infrastructure there. We have MOU with Hungary, Israel, Netherlands, which was again renewed recently, Morocco, Cambodia, Tanzania, Japan. We have a recent MOU which was signed in 2019 for cooperation in technical matters like integrated water resources management. Our recent MOU is with Denmark and also USA. With Denmark, the MOU signed in 2022 is for WRDM, river-centric urban planning, including urban flood management, water quality management, aquifer mapping, and groundwater monitoring. Under the Department of Water Resources, we have Water and Power Consultancy Organization, which is a public sector, WAPCOS. WAPCOS is at the forefront of providing consultancy services, undertaking projects, implementing project, capacity building and training activities all across the globe. It has a presence in more than 47 countries. As a public sector undertaking, it undertakes various projects. One of the main projects that WAPCOS implemented is the Salma project, which became a symbol of India-Afghan friendship. It has also numerous MOUs across the African nations, countries from African continent and Asian countries, including Laos, Cambodia, Kenya, Fiji, Tanzania, Georgia, so on and so forth. As I said, Department of Water Resources is the main organization or the government ministry under the Ministry of Jal Shakti, which works on the international cooperation matters. The administration, international cooperation and groundwater wing looks after the externally aided projects and policy formulation regarding projects programs with the assistance of World Bank like NHP and other financial institutions like ADB, JICA, DIFD, UNESCO, etc. It also looks after the matters related to cooperation with foreign countries in respect of water issues, multilateral, bilateral agreements, cooperation including signing of MOUs, and it looks after foreign deputation and training. Brahmaputra and Barak wing has a northeastern division which looks after China and Bhutan matters and also matters related to hydropower development in northeastern region and clearance of DPR from international angle. Flood management wing has a JC1, Senior Joint Commissioner 1, who looks after Indo-Bangladesh matters and all matters related to Ganges Treaty, measurement of discharge at Farakka and Harding Bridge, matters pertaining to Joint River Commission, pertaining to water resources development of common rivers or border rivers, and also examination of DPRs of various projects from international angle in the light of Ganges Treaty. HJC3 deals with India-Nepal matters and implementation of Mahakali Treaty and all matters related to JMCWR, JCWR, JSTC, JTE, JCIFM, JKCGP, and matters pertaining to Sapkosi and Sankosi. We have River Development and Public Policy, RD and PP wing, which deals with ICID, UN organizations such as UNESCO, UN Environment and FAO, etc. It also deals with international organizations and particularly World Bank aided Dam Rehabilitation Improvement Project, DRIP project. A conference on under the aegis of DOWR was organized at Jaipur last week on Thursday and Friday. As I said, there is a provision of Permanent Indus Commission under Indus Treaty. The Indus Commission from India is a part of the DOWR, which deals with all matters pertaining to Indus Treaty. There is a Senior Joint Commissioner 1 who deals with all matters pertaining to this treaty, tours of inspection and meetings in connection with the secretary level meetings, supply of discharge data, cropped area data, then communication of flood warning systems, flood warning messages, and supply of information regarding the plant storages, plant projects. Whereas the SJC2 of this wing deals with various projects and also interaction with Commissioner of Pakistan, Pakistan Indus Commissioner, in respect of matters related to implementation, and also legal treaties, legal and treaties, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Iran Division of Ministry of External Affairs. Here, I would like to make it clear that ultimately it is the Ministry of External Affairs, which is the primary organization in Government of India, which sets the framework of cooperation with any country. That being Videsh Mantralaya jo hai hamara, it sets the boundary or it sets the framework, and within that framework, the line departments or other departments like Department of Water Resources, Department of Industry, Department of Commerce, Department of Defense, they all work within the framework given by Ministry of External Affairs. So whenever there is any legal issue, Ministry of External Affairs is consulted, and whenever there is a issue raised by Pakistan, which is given to the Court of Arbitration or neutral expert, Ministry of External Affairs, in support with the support of DOWR, handles those matters. International cooperation has many dimensions, and one of the important dimension is international financing institutions, because they fund various projects of water resources in the member countries, projects funded by state governments as well as central governments. We do get funding from World Bank, Asian Development Bank, Japan International Cooperation Agency, and a new development bank, which is a bank developed under the aegis of BRIC countries, BRIC Association. We have numerous projects like NHP, DRIP, Andhra Pradesh Integrated Irrigation and Agriculture Transformation Project, Tamil Nadu Project, West Bengal, UP, Assam, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh. Many projects are being funded by these agencies. Up till now, there is no project funded by these agencies which has an international implication as such. But their role is very important, basically because these financial institutions have investigatory mechanisms with the aim of providing a means of redressal to the concerned individuals or communities in case of non-compliance with operational policies and procedures. As you might be knowing, World Bank, Asian Development Bank, JICA, they have their own norms. When they fund a project, they fund the project as per their own policies and procedures. Government of India is also supposed to follow certain guidelines given by India, by the funding agency. And these guidelines, because they are formulated at an international level and they are formulated with certain objectives, it becomes incumbent on the borrowing agency to follow it. These international agencies, they endorse international water law, they endorse international water legal instruments like Helsinki rules, Berlin rules, UN Water Convention of 1997, ENEC Convention, and they fund the transboundary basin projects which have been taken up in consultation with the riparian basins, riparian countries, and which follow the norms given by these international conventions. So basically, these bodies contribute to the respect of rule of law within their own internal functioning, as well as also by the member countries. So in conclusion, I would like to say that international cooperation is essential for preventing and mitigating water conflicts and to usher in the era of equitable and reasonable utilization, protection, and preservation of international water process, which will facilitate economic development of the people of the region. DOWR, RD, and GR plays a vital role in providing institutional arrangements for implementing the international agreements for fostering cooperation with neighboring countries. It also actively works towards cooperation with other countries in the field of WRDM in terms of capacity building and training, sharing, transfer of technology, consultancy services, special studies, and cooperation, etc. International financing institutions play a multifaceted role in water sector development. With these concluding words, I will end my presentation. Thank you so much for your patience listening. If there are any questions, please type the question in the chat box. I will stop sharing the screen. As I said earlier, I have given a overview of the cooperation of India with other countries. Each of these aspects with Pakistan, with China, with Bangladesh, with Nepal will be dealt in detail. Each treaty will be taken up. Minute details of technical, legal, and other implications will be discussed in the subsequent webinars which are scheduled in these webinar series.
इंडिया में सबको जो भी हमारा जीमेल वगैरह बनते हैं ना सब एनआईसी संभालता है.
So thank you so much. If there is any question, please type your question in the chat box.
हमारे बन रही है जीमेल वगैरह हमारे आईडी जो इसकी बन रही है फिर
Somebody
बाकी
is talking on the microphone. Kindly turn off your microphone. You are audible to all of us. If there is a question, please you can write it down, or you can start your microphone and you are free to speak. Say it.
हाँ सेंटेंस भी पे लेते हैं.
Anybody would like to raise any question or query? Yeah, madam, you have raised your hand. Please make your microphone on. Dr. Sarkar from NIH. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes. Sir, first of all, thank you very much for this wonderful talk. It was so informative and it gave us a good overview of all the international cooperation activities. I do not have a query, but I just, there was one initially in your presentation, you have showed the aquifers, the transboundary aquifers.
Yeah.
And we obviously have the transboundary rivers, which is physically visible. The aquifers are not physically visible.
Yes.
Now there is one more concept, because in a recent when I was attending the Pansari Symposium during the IUGG in Berlin, so now people are also they are talking about the maps, the invisible maps in the sky, and these are the evaporation maps. So there, they showed India as because India is getting like there are some countries which are higher on evaporation. There are some countries which are lower on evaporation. So India was like lower. So India is getting benefited in that particular map. But then I questioned there also that whatever these are maps in the sky. But still, whatever evaporation that we get, it is only in the monsoon months. Whereas the problems, say for example, the case of Brahmaputra, the issue is in the non-monsoon season.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I've done my PhD and I know about the data. So this is one thing, now I don't know how do we respond to such kind of presentations which go in the global scenario. So there, like India, they have shown as surplus in getting moisture, basically it's moisture or evaporation. So we are surplus in moisture, but then it doesn't help the international water conflicts because the water is more required in the non-monsoon months.
Yes, very true, madam. Evaporation is a major issue in India. Actually, we receive about 4,000 BCM of water through rainfall, through snowfall. However, more than half of it goes back to the atmosphere in terms of evaporation, evapotranspiration, and it's a big loss. If we can contain it, and such maps will be really very useful in identifying the locations where we have a higher evaporation rates and what can be done to reduce the evaporation. Most of the evaporation is happening from the agriculture activities because India uses flood irrigation as a major way of irrigation, and that is why we use about 84% of our water use is for irrigation. We have yet to switch to the micro irrigation or advanced irrigation techniques in a big way, and I'm sure when we switch over to the micro irrigation, drip irrigation, sprinkler, the evaporation rate in that area will be much less. The concept is now that we should have a more and more soil moisture for a longer duration of time and near the root zone of the crop. And we should unnecessarily avoid the irrigating the non-crop areas. So these maps will be certainly useful. Thank you for your remarks. It was really very pertinent. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, any more questions, please?
We will be sharing the copy of the presentation to you, certainly, and all further presentations will also be shared. If you go to the feedback, if you have registered, we will have your email. So I would request all of you to be sure that you register for the webinar, because by that way we get your email ID, and also give your feedback regarding the session, so that we will improve it further based on your feedback. And when you give feedback, at that time also we receive your email ID, and those email IDs are useful when we want to share the things with you. So please give your valuable feedback. Any question? Okay, I think there is no question. Thank you so much for your patience listening. Thank you for your attendance. And we'd request all of you to join next Monday at 11 a.m. Not only next Monday, but every Monday. This particular webinar series is going to be very interesting because the faculty that will be delivering the lectures are the people who are who have the responsibility of implementing those measures. Somebody is asking for the registration link, please. So I would request our staff from NWA to give the registration link in the chat box itself, registration link as well as the feedback link. The officers of NWA who are online, please share registration link as well as feedback link in the chat box.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, हाँ बताइए, you are audible. Any question?
Chaskar sir, it was very, very good. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible, sir. You are audible.
I just want your thought on, you have given input about China as an upper riparian and his general way of action with the other countries and on other basins where he is the upper riparian.
Yes, sir.
Suppose they go on making structures which we know are going to cause concern plus some harm at some stage in our future living.
Right.
What is the way you look at it? There's no treaty. They will not like to enter into any treaty. What
Right,
will
sir.
be the way? How do you think that we can redress at some stage when we are put to grave harm?
Yes, sir, you are right, sir, because we do not have any treaty with China, nor they are willing to enter into treaty. In fact, China was the only country which opposed or voted against the UN Water Convention in United Nations when it was put to vote.
फीडबैक वाला लिंक है क्या इसका?
In fact, no country from no country from the South Asia is signatory to that convention. As we know, China has already constructed certain projects upstream in their 16th plan, probably 12th plan. They were having a provision of 3 hydropower plants in the upstream area in Tibet. One was already implemented in 2015. 3 more were implemented, and now in the 16th or 14th 5-year plan, they have included this 16 megawatt project. Sir, we do not have really any other means, legal means as such. Basically, because we have to recover the issue diplomatically. There is no legal forum to which we can go, but we can take a cue from the Pakistan response in 1960s or after independence, where as a upper Riparian we shut off the Firozpur and the other one headworks, or when we constructed Faraka Barrage, the way Bangladesh made took the issue to the international level. Because then India will also have to internationalize and raise the issue at international level, find other means. There are various means, diplomatic means के साथ साथ, you can tackle the issue at various levels, at a top political level, or there can be economic, kind of interventions from Indian side can also be there, one of the issue. But yes, what Bangladesh did, what Pakistan did during at the time of Faraka Barrage and also at the time of independence, that is something which we can also adopt. Putting pressure on China is really a difficult task, but I'm sure India is making progress in its diplomatic approach, which is evident the way G20 was conducted. Very few people had a hope that a joint communique will come through. But India succeeded in that. We are working with China in a cooperative manner on various issues, and I'm sure if something of that measure comes, India will be in a position to put some pressure on China to share the data with India or to take into account the Indian concerns. As I said, sir, probably we may have to take certain measures, particularly from the strategic view, as Government of India is already planning to put in place certain hydropower project or storage project in the Arunachal Pradesh, which can act as a cushion in respect of any strategic use by China of its upstream projects. So that one strategy will also have to be put in place. Otherwise, we'll be exposing ourselves to the adverse impact of Chinese projects.
Yeah, but they are planning to divert the lean flows, which are crucial for the whole ecology of the river, plus for us also. And they do to divert the lean flows is not a big deal, because they may be already working on a water conveying system, and whatever is their existing project, just you need to connect it to that water conveying system.
That's true, sir. That's true. We will have to take up the things strongly with China, because there was a media report of 1,000-kilometer long tunnel through which they were to transport the water to their water-scarred northern China region. Because we don't have a clear information, also because the information is not in public domain. Even that 60 gigawatt project we came to know through their 5-year plan only, which was in public domain.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any more questions, please? Okay, then we will conclude this session. During this session on international cooperation in water sector of India, role of BOWR, RD and GR, today's speaker has covered full in detail and sharing his knowledge in this field. International cooperation in neighboring countries, Bangladesh, Nepal, then institutional mechanism developed between Mahakali Treaty, then Pancheshwar multi-purpose project, Saptkoshi I Dam major projects, then Sankoshi storage cum divergence scheme, then standing committee on inundation problems, subcommittee on embankment constructions, then flood forecasting, warning system, on rivers common to India and Nepal, then joint committee on water resources between Pakistan and then China, memorandum of understanding upon provision of hydrological information of river Brahmaputra, then memorandum of understanding on hydrological data sharing on river Satluj, then expert level mechanism topics covered in Bhutan, Myanmar, the status of hydropower projects proposed to be developed in Myanmar, then bilateral cooperation between the international countries, then UN Convention on International Watercourse 1997, and he also sum up with the that India already have agreement with Pakistan on the use of Indus water by way of Indus Water Treaty in 1960. A treaty has also been signed with Nepal on integrated river development of Mahakali River with Pancheshwar project with at its core with Bangladesh also. An agreement has been reached with regard to the sharing of Ganges water in lean season at the common boundary between India and Bangladesh. The negotiations are also on for beneficial use of waters of many other rivers flowing in Himalayan region through Nepal, Bhutan and India. Since most of the storages in the north and northeastern states are near the international borders, water diplomacy or effective and optimal utilization of water resources in the region is likely to play a key role in economic development of people of the region. India can take lead in all these initiatives as an equal partner with capabilities to provide the technical leadership in the area. There is no treaty or agreement between India and China on the utilization and management of Brahmaputra waters. Considering the huge potential of Brahmaputra in terms of water availability and hydropower, it is essential that India and China start negotiating on formulating joint mechanism or river basin organization for mutual benefit and to avoid any potential water conflict which can have destabilizing effect in the region. The 1997 United Nations Convention on Law of Non-Navigation Use of International Water Courses represent an important instrument for strengthening the rule of law in this increasingly critical field of international relations and for equitable, reasonable utilization, protection and preservation of international water courses. Thank you, sir, for enlightening us on this very important topic. Now, on behalf of National Water Academy, Central Water Commission, Pune, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all esteemed participants, speaker and attendees from Ministry of Jal Shakti, Central Water Commission, different state water resources department, different IITs, institutions, NGOs and media officials for this enlightening webinar on interstate river water disputes in India. It has been intellectually stimulating and enriching session where we had an opportunity to hear from the renowned experts. His diverse perspective and valuable insights have been shed light on the complexities of this topic. We are extremely grateful to our distinguished speaker, Shri D.H. Chaskar sir, for sparing his time and sharing extensive knowledge and his experience with us on the above topic. I would like to extend special word of thanks to all participants who actively engage in panel discussion as well as question answer session. Your contribution enrich the deliberation and help forever for a vibrant exchange of ideas. Furthermore, I would like to express our sincere thanks to Secretary DOWR RDNGR Chairman Shri Ora sir, Chairman and ex-officio Secretary to the Government of India, who is driving force behind the various activities of NWA. I also convey my sincere thanks to Chief Engineer and Head of National Water Academy, Shri G.S. Chaskar sir, and his generous support and guidance making NWA to venture ahead. Last but certainly not least, I would like to thanks to our dedicated team of National Water Academy. Thank you once again to everyone who has been part of this webinar series. We look forward to future endeavor and collaboration in our resolving in the international water cooperation in India. Thank you once again. Now there is one small announcement. Our next webinar session of this series will be on 26 September, and the topic will be history of development of international water law, water allocation in transboundary basin, Helsinki rule, Berlin rule, and the speaker will be speaker will be Advocate Shri Sehwag Siddiqui. He is legal consultant of Indian Environment Law Offices, New Delhi. Okay, thank you. We will meet on the next session. In chat box, we share the link for joining the WhatsApp group of this international webinar series, as feedback link. It is requested that kindly submit your feedback and also share your other officers for the joining of this webinar session through WhatsApp link. Okay, namaskar. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Huh? नहीं हमने 26 को किया है 26 ला केलं नाही 25 ला कोर्स है ना